Hi, let's look at page 74 notes. So now you've done the second Nearpod lesson, and hopefully these will sum up what you've learned. If it says that the sum is not more than 12, that means that whatever the sum is going to be less than or equal to 12, because it can't go past 12. If the sum of the numbers is more than 1, then x is going to be greater than 1. It's not going to include 1 because it has to be more than 1. If the sum of the numbers is at least 2, that means that 2 is going to be the minimum, so x will have to be greater than or equal to 2. It can be 2, but it could also be greater. So now I want to walk through a couple of equations that you can solve, they're so close to equations that I call them equations, but they're inequalities because it doesn't have an equal sign, it has the inequality sign. N plus 5 is less than or equal to 9. You're going to follow the same rules that we have for equations. So you'll subtract 5 from both sides. That will leave you with n. 9 minus 5 is 4. So this would be n is less than or equal to 4. Now, there is one place, and you noticed in the video as they were talking, that there is one place when you have to switch the signs. So if I have negative 5 times x is greater than 20, when negative 5 times x, the opposite of times is divide. So you're dividing both sides by negative 5. When I do that, I'm left with x, and I'm left with negative 4. Now the problem is you need to make sure you flip the sign. So when you are multiplying or dividing both sides by a negative number, that's when you flip the sign. So please write that on your notes. Maybe even highlight it, square it in, something that while you're looking at your notes, while you work through this week's work, you will remember that. So then there's a couple more examples here. A minus 12 is less than negative 5. Well, to find a, you'll add 12 to both sides. You will have a is less than 7. So again, when you have to graph, draw your number line, plot your 0 and your 7. You'll put an open circle at 7 because it doesn't include 7. That's not an or equal to 1. And if a is less than 7, it's everything to the left. 7 times n is greater than or equal to 28. Well, the opposite of times is divide, so you divide both sides by 7, and you get m is greater than or equal to 4. When you graph it, you only need to graph 0 and 4. This time, it's m is greater than or equal to 4, so 4 is included, you go to the right. Over here, p divide by negative 2 is less than or equal to 1. Well, the opposite of divide is multiply, so I'm going to take both sides times a negative 2. That will cancel it out, and I'll be left with p. Notice I'm flipping the signs because what I did to both sides, I multiplied by a negative 2. When you multiply by a negative 2, or if you were divide by a negative number, that's when you have to flip the signs. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Draw your line. You have your 0. This time it's going to be a closed circle because it's got or equal to, so it includes negative 2 and everything to the right. Nick bakes cupcakes. He has 200 grams of flour. He needs 12 grams of flour per cupcake. At most, how many cupcakes can he make? Well, 12 times the number of cupcakes needs to be less than or equal to 200 because that's as much flour as he has. So the opposite of times is divide, so you divide both sides by 12, and you get C is less than or equal to 16.7. Now, unless you're a better chef than I am, I can't make 0.7 cupcakes, so I'm going to say that he can only make 16 cupcakes. So those are your page 74 notes. Let me know if you have any questions.